Imagine a contractor, we'll call him Joe. Good old Joe. Joe isn't afraid of work. He's not scared of a long day, a muddy job site, a bad measurement, a delivery truck that shows up late, or a customer who changes their mind after the material is already sitting in the driveway. Actually, that could probably upset him. Joe can solve real problems. But then Joe gets home. It's 8:37 at night. His boots are by the door. His phone has 6 photos from the job site. His notebook has 3 lines that made perfect sense at 10 o'clock this morning but now look like they were written during a small earthquake. And on his laptop, there it is, the blank email, the blinking cursor, the tiny little line on the screen that somehow has more power than a table saw. Joe knows what happened at the job. He knows what the customer asked for. He knows there was a change. He also knows there's probably a change order in there somewhere. But now, he has to explain it, professionally, clearly, without sounding annoyed, without forgetting something important, and without spending the rest of his evening doing paperwork. That is where Google Gemini starts to get interesting. Not because Gemini is going to show up at the job site in a hard hat and tell everybody how to frame a wall, please don't let the chatbot near the nail gun. But because Gemini may become the AI assistant hiding inside tools contractors already use. Gmail, Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Drive, maybe even meeting notes, PDFs, and project files. And that matters because most contractors don't need another complicated piece of software with a dashboard, 7 tabs, a monthly fee, and a password they'll forget by Tuesday. They need help with the messy middle of the day. The notes, the emails, the follow-ups, the job details, the estimates, the files, the little things that pile up after the actual work is done. And before we go any further, let's make something clear. If AI tools feel confusing at first, that doesn't mean you're behind. It means the tools are changing fast. Even the names sound like somebody spilled alphabet soup on a tech brochure. Gemini, Workspace, AI Assistant, Extensions, Notebook LM, Smart this, smart that. It can feel like the tech world is talking over your head on purpose. But we're not doing that here. This video isn't about becoming a computer genius. It's about understanding one simple idea. Just one. Google Gemini may help contractors handle the computer part of the workday, so they can spend less time fighting paperwork and more time actually running the job. Okay, now let's bounce back to Joe. Joe has a rough note from the job site. It says, customer asked for added blocking. North wall. Framing crew delayed, delivery late, need price and approval. That note is not beautiful. It's not polished. It's barely a sentence, but it contains important information. Joe could open Gmail and stare at the screen for 20 minutes trying to turn that into a professional message. Or he could ask Gemini to help draft it. Something like, turn these job site notes into a polite customer email explaining that added blocking was requested, it may affect cost and schedule, and we need approval before moving forward. That doesn't mean Joe sends the first version without reading it. Absolutely not. Joe still checks it. Joe still fixes the details. Joe still makes sure the price, scope, and schedule are correct. But now he's not starting from a blank screen. He's starting from clarity. And sometimes that's the whole battle right there. Gemini didn't replace Joe's judgment. Gemini just did what it does. It parted the clouds. It helped Joe get unstuck. That's one of the most realistic uses of AI in construction right now. Not replacing the contractor. How could that possibly be a good idea? Not making the final decision. Just helping turn rough thoughts into something clear enough to use. And if you've ever spent your evening trying to write one email that should have taken 5 minutes, you know how valuable that can be. Now let's meet Maria. Maria handles a lot of the office side for a small contractor, and Maria is organized. At least she was organized before the project files started multiplying like rabbits. There's a PDF in Google Drive, there's an email thread with the customer, there's another email from the supplier, there's a spreadsheet with job costs, there are photos from somebody's phone, and somewhere in there is the one thing she needs, the warranty requirement, or the submittal deadline, or the updated scope note, or the email where the customer approved the change. This is where Gemini and Google Drive and Google Docs becomes interesting because one of its big promises is helping people summarize, search, and understand information inside their files and documents. For a contractor, that could mean asking something like, summarize the key requirements in this project file, or Find the part that talks about closeout documents. Or, what are the open questions from these notes? Again, not magic, not perfect, not something you trust blindly. But if Maria can use Gemini to get pointed in the right direction faster, that's actually a breakthrough for people buried in paperwork. Because construction people don't just lose time doing the work. They lose time finding the information needed to prove what happened. And that's a different kind of exhaustion. The kind where you know the answer is somewhere, but you don't know whether it's in an email, a PDF, a folder, a text message, or a document called Final Revised Version New Final. Actually use this one. We've all met that file. Nobody likes that file. Gemini may help reduce some of that chaos, not by making the contractor less responsible, but by making the information easier to find and understand. Now let's talk about Brian. Brian's a good contractor. He's fair, he's reasonable. But Brian has one problem. He despises writing change order emails. Not because he doesn't understand the change, he understands it perfectly. The customer added work, the scope changed, the time changed, the cost changed. That part is clear. The hard part is saying it in a way that doesn't sound like a fight. Because diplomatically wording something that could cause others strife matters to people. If Brian writes too bluntly, the customer may get defensive. If he writes too softly, the customer may not understand that approval is needed. If he waits too long, the job keeps moving and everybody starts remembering the conversation differently. Gemini can help Brian draft a clear message. He could type, write a professional change order email explaining that the customer requested additional work, the added work is outside the original scope, and approval is needed before we continue. Now Brian has a starting point. He can adjust the tone, he can add the actual dollar amount, he can add the correct job details, he can remove anything that sounds too fancy. Because let's be honest, sometimes AI writes like it's wearing a suit to mow the lawn, so Brian still has to make it sound like Brian. But the hard part, well, that's getting the first clean version on the page. Google Gemini makes this easier, and it's a big deal for small contractors, because communication isn't just paperwork. Communication protects relationships. It protects payment. It protects the job record. It protects the contractor from the dreaded sentence, "I thought that was included." Those 5 words have probably aged more contractors than birthdays ever could. Now let's meet Denise. Denise is trying to keep track of jobs in Google Sheets. She has job names, customer names, estimate dates, follow-up dates, deposit status, material orders, notes, and maybe a column called miscellaneous. This column is probably like a kitchen junk drawer, but it has with grid lines. The sheet technically works, but it's ugly. Sorry, Gemini, it's cramped. Half the columns are too narrow. Some dates are missing, some notes are too long, and nobody wants to use it from a phone because it feels like trying to type a novel through a keyhole. This is where Gemini in Sheets could be helpful. Google has been adding Gemini features that can help users create and edit spreadsheets with natural language. For a contractor, that could mean asking, create a simple job tracker for a small contractor with columns for job name, customer, location, estimate status, follow-up date, material notes, change orders, and next action. Or, clean up this sheet so it's easier to read. Or, suggest columns I may be missing for tracking active jobs. Now this doesn't mean Gemini knows Denise's business better than Denise does. It doesn't. Denise still knows what actually happens in the field. She knows which details matter. She knows what the crew forgets to write down. She knows what customers ask about 3 weeks later. But Gemini can help her shape the starting point. And that's important because a lot of people don't fail with spreadsheets because they're lazy. They fail because the spreadsheet is annoying to use. And once a tracker becomes annoying, it becomes abandoned. And once it's abandoned, everybody goes back to memory. Text messages, sticky notes, and the sacred construction filing system known as, "I think it's in the truck." Well, that system has limits. Gemini may help make the tracker a little easier to build, a little easier to edit, and a little less painful to maintain. Now, this is where we need to slow down and be honest. Gemini can help with paperwork. It can help with writing. It can help summarize information. It can help organize job details. It can help create starting points. But it should not be treated like a licensed contractor, estimator, attorney, engineer, safety officer, or building inspector. In fact, don't let AI make final decisions about structural details. and don't let it approve safety plans without review. Don't let AI interpret a contract as if it's your lawyer. Do not let AI create an estimate and then assume it understands your labor, your market, your crew, your supplier, your scope, or the weird thing that always happens on that one kind of job. AI can sound confident and still be wrong. That's one of the most important things to understand. A confident answer isn't the same thing as a correct answer. So, the smart way to use Gemini is not, do my thinking for me. The smart way is, help me get organized so I can think more clearly. That is a much better relationship with AI. Use it to draft the email, but you check the facts. Use it to summarize the PDF, but you verify the source. Use it to create a job tracker, but you decide what belongs in it. Use it to explain confusing language, without you handing over your judgment. Because in construction, experience still matters. The person who has been on job sites for 20 years sees things AI does not see. They know when something sounds off. They know when the drawing looks simple, but the site condition says otherwise. They know when a customer says, small change, and that small change is about to become a 4-hour problem and a second trip to the supplier. Gemini can help with information, but the contractor still brings the wisdom. And that's actually the encouraging part, because the real story here is not AI is coming to replace contractors. The better story is AI may help good contractors stop drowning in the parts of the job they already hate. The paperwork, the searching, the formatting, the follow-up, the professional wording, the blank screen, the scattered files, the notes that make sense in the morning and turn into ancient hieroglyphics by dinner. That's where Gemini may fit, not as the hero, as the helper. And that's the difference between hype and usefulness. Now, could this get more powerful over time? Absolutely. If Gemini keeps getting better inside Gmail, Docs, Sheets, Drive, and other Google tools, then contractors may not have to go looking for AI somewhere else. It may already be sitting inside the software they use to write emails, store files, track jobs, and share documents. That's why this is important. Because for a lot of small businesses, the winning AI tool may not be the flashiest one. It may be the one that feels normal enough to actually use. The one that helps Joe write the email. The one that helps Maria find the file. The one that helps Brian explain the change order. The one that helps Denise clean up the job tracker. Not perfect, not magic, not something to trust without review, but useful. And useful beats impressive every single time. So if you're a contractor, a small business owner, an office manager, or just someone trying to keep the workday from spilling into every evening, Gemini is worth understanding. You don't have to master everything at once. You don't have to become a tech person overnight. Start with one annoying task, one email, one summary, one job note, one spreadsheet, one file you don't want to dig through. Ask Gemini to help with the first draft, the first summary, or the first clean version. Then review it like a professional. Fix what's wrong. Add what it missed. Remove anything that sounds too robotic, and keep your judgment in the driver's seat. That's how you build smarter. Not by trusting AI with everything, and not by being afraid of it either, but by learning where it helps, where it doesn't, and how to use it without losing the human experience that actually makes the work good. Because the future of construction technology may not start with a robot on a job site. It may start with a contractor at the kitchen table, finally getting through the paperwork before the coffee gets cold. And honestly, that's not a bad place to begin.